Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you. The second preseason game for San Francisco in the rear view. The Niners beating the New Orleans Saints by a final tally of 16-10. And coming up, my instant reaction. Just taking a look and reacting to everything that transpired in this game. And I want to start off on the offensive side of the football. Some headlines were made when Kyle Shanahan said earlier this week that some of the starters were going to play for San Francisco, including quarterback Brock Purdy. And Purdy did get the start with this starting Niners offensive line. I put that in the air quotations because Aaron Banks had pinky surgery, so Nick Sickell got the start at left guard. He got bullied on a couple of occasions by Brian Bresee, a very good second-year defensive tackle out of Clemson. Not a good look for him. Sickell last week played pretty well at center, but did not look good at left guard. And then, of course, San Francisco continues to be without Trent Williams. I don't think the offensive line did Purdy any favors on the first drive for San Francisco, and Purdy got 3 drives. They stalled. Purdy was able to hit Braden Willis, and that drive kind of came to a halt after Brian Bresee had this interior pass rush and muddied up the pocket after bulldozing Nick Sickell. And 2 drives in, we really saw nothing from Purdy. The offensive line protection, not great. He wasn't on the same page. And it's important to note that while the Niners had their starting offensive line out there, Purdy was playing with a bunch of nobodies, a bunch of number 2s and a bunch of number 3s, and you could see that with the lack of communication. Purdy would throw it in one area, and the receiver wouldn't be there. Purdy would want somebody to come back to the football on a scramble drill, and that receiver didn't do it. So, no Deebo Samuel, no Christian McCaffrey, no George Kittle, Jawan Jennings, Kyle Juszczyk, Brandon Ayuk, Trent Williams, Aaron Banks, and we saw this Niners first-string offense not really look good. On the third drive for Purdy, the third and final drive, San Francisco had a really good offensive field position after a Jacob Cowing punt return, but the Niners kind of wasted that. Brock Purdy also had this one weird play in which there was a play action to the left, and then he was running around and threw it across the field, a very dangerous throw. And Purdy finished the night only 2 of 6 for 11 yards. Now, some takeaways from that, everybody always wants to say the scheme allows any type of player to get open under Kyle Shanahan for Brock Purdy. That did not take place for the Niners offense tonight. And as part of that, the Niners as a team looked like they missed Trent Williams with the bad and suspect offensive line play. They missed Brandon Ayuk. So I'm not going to be all too serious when I say, did Brandon Ayuk's leverage increase after watching this game tonight? I'm not going to go that far, but this Niners offense, without some of the star-level talent and some important offensive linemen, did not move the football when Brock Purdy was in the game. Now, they did start to move the football with Josh Dobbs, and we'll talk about him coming up in just a moment. First, a reminder to subscribe to the channel. During our watch party, more than 70,000 views. We did surpass 136,000 subscribers. If you want Niner shows coming your way every single day, hit that sub button right now. So Josh Dobbs comes in. He relieves Brock Purdy. First drive, move the football. Second drive, Dobbs making plays out of structure with his legs, with his arm. That drive did come to an end after a Cam Latu and Ronnie Bell drop. But then we saw a tremendous drive from Josh Dobbs and this offense. 2-minute drill. Drive started with under 2 minutes to go, so a move the ball, crunch time situation. And the Niners go 11 plays, 80 yards in a minute 16. And Dobbs was fantastic. He ended the night 12 of 21, 133 yards. He did have a rushing touchdown. He threw a beautiful long ball to Jacob Cowing, who was a clear winner tonight, the rookie 4th-round pick out of Arizona. and formerly UTSA, was really able to flash. The 38-yard reception used as a punt returner, a 12-yard gain on an end around. He looks to be a weapon who's short and shifty. Dobbs had a nice throw on a wheel route to Matt Breida on a big play. And then he had this ridiculous run in which he evaded the sack, broke a tackle, ran right, cut it across the field, picked up another first down. So going into the preseason, I was a little bit concerned with the backup quarterback spot behind Brock Purdy. Josh Dobbs has performed very well in the preseason to ease those concerns. I've seen some good things from Brandon Allen to ease those concerns. We saw Tanner Mordecai play. He completed his first 4 passes for 44 yards. So the Niners look to be in a good spot in that quarterback room. I thought Matt Breida ran pretty well. Dominic Purdy, once again, played good football, putting some good plays on tape. I think he was going to be your week 1 starter against the New York Jets. There was a play on a Josh Dobbs throw to Trent Taylor, which was deflected and then dropped by Taylor, which led to a field goal, where Dominic Purdy blocked his man initially, and then there was an edge rusher coming around, and Purdy just spun and was able to lay a block on him. That's just great awareness from a rookie. And I've said this, I think that Purdy gives this team some juice, some physicality, some athleticism, and better play along the offensive line. So I don't necessarily always look at wins and losses in the preseason. These games don't count. I look for individual performances. I look for individual growth. And we're seeing some growth out of these young players, including Dominic Purdy, the 3rd-round pick out of Kansas. We'll talk defense and special teams coming up. First, the sponsor for our postgame show is PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. With over 5 million active members, it is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it is just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll in. Preseason football is underway, but you can also pick more or less on some 2024 season stats on PrizePicks. For instance, will Patrick Mahomes throw for more or less than 4,300 yards? Will C.J. Stroud's sophomore season result in more or less than 4,150 yards? Enter your season picks before week 1 kicks off. Our selections: Calvin Ridley, T. Higgins, more than 899.5 receiving yards, and then Cooper Kupp, more than 974.5 receiving yards. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That is code CLNS on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, run your game. We'll put that information down below in the comment section and in the description of tonight's show. So some defensive notes and just some other things offensively, like Cam Latu continues to do nothing to impress me. Ronnie Bell, a couple of drops the last couple of weeks, had a very tight position. Danny Gray nearly had a drop on one of his receptions. His seat is hot. So some developments and some takeaways there. Defensive notes. You had some young players making some really good plays to start, and the Niners did not have a lot of starters defensively start this game for San Francisco against the Saints ones who got extended looks, but you did have Jair Brown from this hybrid linebacker position make a really good TFL on a running play. Renardo Green with a nice pass breakup on a ball that was thrown slightly inside by Derek Carr. Renardo Green, the 2nd-round pick out of Florida State, did get beat later on a crosser by Chris Olave, but had decent positioning on press man coverage from that beginning of the play. Chris Olave, a really good player in this league, so it's good to see Renardo Green matched up against a player of that caliber. I'll say this, and we talked about the linebacker spot for San Francisco. They're very deep at the linebacker position, and they're going to have to make some difficult cuts there. I think that's a big reason why they let go of Ezekiel Turner this past week. Curtis Robinson continues to make really good plays and put really good plays on tape. This is with D. Winters playing well. Jalen Graham had a good night tonight, making disruptive plays. You have Demetrius Flanagan fouls. I thought that Devondre Campbell played with some good juice. I think he's going to hold off D. Winters and Jalen Graham, and he's going to start at off-ball linebacker for the Niners to begin the year. Some concerns I have with this defensive unit. I know it's the preseason, but the Niners' third down defense has not been good during the preseason, haven't been great against the run, and this is after San Francisco was 24th in third down efficiency as a defense last year. So just something to keep in mind as you look ahead to the regular season, week 1 against the Jets. Can they get off the field and can they stop the run? Last year, they certainly struggled in those areas. The Niners starting defense tonight, Robert Beal, Jordan Elliott, Kevin Givens, Yetur Gross-Matos, Devondre Campbell, Demetrius Flanagan fouls, Curtis Robinson. So an interesting starting linebacking core, not D. Winters and Jalen Graham. In the secondary, Renardo Green, Rocky Sin as outside corners, and then Jair Brown, George Odom as your safeties. I think week 1, it could be Jair Brown, George Odom as your starting safeties. One of the highlights for this defense tonight, edge rusher Alex Barrett with a strip, sack, fumble recovery on Spencer Rattler. I felt as though that kind of got the juices flowing for this Niners offense. 7th-round pick linebacker out of Florida State, Tatum Bethune, making some plays all around the field. He's a very active player, again, adding depth to the linebacker room. Malik Mustafa, after a really good preseason debut last week, I thought he took some bad angles and missed some tackles in this game against New Orleans. And then lastly, special teams. Presley Harvin, filling in for Mitch Wishnowsky, had 4 punts inside the 20, 3 of them finally placed inside the 10. Mitch Wishnowsky continues to deal with arthritis. That's a little bit of a concern. If he can't go week 1, Presley Harvin, who I thought outpunted the coverage last week, bounced back and had a good performance here tonight. If he can't make the Niners team, because he won't if Mitch Wishnowsky is healthy, putting out an audition tape for other teams across the NFL. Cody Schrader didn't do a lot once again running the football as a running back. I think he has a little bit of pop as a kick returner. And then Jake Moody, cover your eyes, an awful miss from 50 as that ball was on its way to Oakland. It was a bad miss. He did redeem himself later with the kick from about 32 yards or so, but Jake Moody from 50 plus, wide right. So my instant reaction after the second preseason game for the Niners, 16-10 winners. Going to be a late game Friday, week 3 of the preseason against the Las Vegas Raiders. Brock Purdy didn't perform well. Do you have some concerns? I don't really, because he didn't have any of his offensive weapons. Everything kind of seemed out of sync. I jokingly said on X, Josh Dobbs, Brock Purdy, quarterback controversy. It's a joke. That is not the case. But Josh Dobbs did look good, and it's obviously good to have a good quarterback room. Brock Purdy didn't really look all that good, but again, didn't have his weapons out there. So with that, we round out with this, your biggest winner from preseason week 2. My answer, Jacob Cowing. He had dealt with hamstring issues to start camp, but this past week really started to pop. And tonight, in his first professional game, making some plays as a receiver, as a gadget guy, and on special teams.